Analyzing properties is one of the toughest things to do in property investment. In today's video, I'm going to show you the key piece of software to analyzing your properties in under 5 minutes. So before we even jump into this, go into the comments. I've pinned it to the top. There is a link in there for today's software, Lendlord. They are good friends of mine and we are going to be utilizing them throughout the analysis process. I strongly suggest, unless you have world-class macro-driven Excel spreadsheets to analyze your properties, this is going to be absolutely amazing. And if you are a subscriber of the channel, make sure you are before you click on the link. Hit subscribe, notification bell, click the link below. You are going to get premium access for over 90 days if you click on it now. So get on there now, fill in your details and follow along. So we've got these two properties. One is in Pudsey in West Yorkshire and one is in Leeds in Longroyd Avenue, which is in Beeston. So the reason that I would have been given these is these are areas that we invest in. So both of them fairly decent areas. To give you an idea, Pudsey, which is over in LS28, is a really strong area, lots of capital growth, one of the best areas in the UK for capital growth and predicted growth into the next few years. LS11, specifically Beeston, is a bit of a rougher area, if you like. So it's a rough area. Locals would not particularly go, yeah, amazing area. But actually, a lot of investment around that area, especially in the South Bank development. If you don't know it, there's a development going on in Leeds, or much more than Leeds, 350 football pitches worth of residential development, the second largest in Europe ever. So very different properties. Let's go through them. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to have a quick check of the photos. This is really just to get an idea of the refurb. So I always go in here, checking in, and this is a very nice property done to way higher than a typical rental standard, if I'm being completely honest. This is like if I were to flip the property, it's strong. Now, even though it all looks solid, I'm always going to factor in some money for the photos are lying a little bit. I always think of CP12s, which is gas safety. Remember, if you're doing a buy-to-let, you need CP12s and EICR. CP12s being the gas safety, EICRs being the electrical certificate, okay? So I'm always going to factor in maybe 5 grand until I've gone to the property and done some testing, and then I can manipulate my numbers. So that's all good. I'll just go back, have a little scroll down, check out this, and I always look just to make sure it's not a weird shape. Now, this property is not perfectly rectangular. As you can see, it sort of goes up and then slants, but that's not a problem at all. The issue really would be maybe that second bedroom upstairs. So I'm just going to make sure I'm looking at that properly. Now, what I'm also going to do is if you scroll down, gives you some more information, make sure it's got its EPC rating. Ideally, well, it needs to be E or above, ideally C or above. That's a band B, no problem. Good area near the grass and the greenery, good locals. And you can see on here, what I like doing is just checking the property for sale history. So you can see some general growth. So 100 grand, 105 grand, 158 grand. And then under the sold part, I'm going to look at what has sold recently in the area. And you can see 133 grand is the absolute lowest, which was number 2 Hillthorpe. And you can see from the photos, I'll just click on it quickly. You can see these are very, very different photos. So when you go through here, this is, I am guessing that was a probate property. It's old school. A lot of money would have went into that. So gives you a really good idea of the stability of pricing. The next thing I'm going to be looking at outside of that is just a quick rental check on these, okay? And making sure that, right, we've put in the postcode, the LS2828ND. And by the way, if you don't have it from Rightmove, literally copy and paste the address into Google, scroll down, it will tell you it straight away. So in general, we can see, first of all, both within half a mile. We've not started analysing yet, by the way, but just given a bit of preamble. We've got within half a mile. That's actually quite far, but even if I do quarter of a mile, including the ones that have let agreed on here, there's only 1 available. So even within half a mile, there's only 7 available. If I take off, if you go to filters and then untick that, there's only 6 available that currently to rent still. So very low availability, and you can do a quick check. The 2 beds are really coming in at 850 for houses. Flats at 750, which is very standard. So 850, 750, 795. 850 is reasonable. And again, the other one we've got is this one. You can see it's a solid property. This is the Beeston property. You can already tell visually, by the way. I'll just go back to the first photo here and compare the two of them. The outside of this one in Pudsey is a little bit more middle class, isn't it? A little bit more fresh. And this one's a bit more rough around the edges. So you might go, this is very different properties in there, which it is. You go through it, again, it's a nice standard, but probably a bit more money. Again, I'm always going to factor in that initially that $5,000 for CP12s, EICRs, any problems coming up. But I might factor in another $5,000 in this, just initially before we even go in. And again, we've got the rentals on this one, where again, it's only got 6 available in half a mile. So both of these are showing that there's not much available, okay, in the area. Now, that doesn't tell me it's a great area to invest. It tells me there's not a lot of supply before we jump into it. And again, if we look on here, it's flat, semi-detached at 950, not really comparable. 800 here, but very nice in there. I think you would agree. 850, 850, these are 2-beds. So again, not too bad. I personally would be saying that these ones here are a bit steep at for the 2-beds at 850. Maybe a 750 is more appropriate for what we might be achieving here. But we'll see how it comes out. So we've got a bit of a preamble. The next thing I want to do is just show you the layout of the deal analyzer. So the deal analyzer, what are we even looking for when we're analyzing these properties? So hopefully you've got Lendlord in front of you. If you don't, please make sure you're on it now. It's really important, guys, to make sure we're analyzing these deals. And this is how you're going to do it, El Rapido. So give me a second to get some context, then we'll start the timer. So the deal analyzer, it's going to take account the purchase price. And when you're analyzing the property, you've got the short term and the long term. Short term's about your first year ROI and things like that, return on investment. I don't really care about that. I'm more caring about the longer term assumptions when we're going in. Now, just to give you an idea, it's really about getting a like-for-like assumption. So it doesn't matter how accurate it is, but I will put in whatever the appreciation is, typically 5%. Annual appreciation rate, I just put as 0, and inflation I put in at 0. The reason for that is if you're keeping them the same, you're just adjusting for the same. So we want the same outcomes. Now we're going to put in 10% management fees on both. There's no service charge or utilities because you're going to be renting out as a buy-to-let, and there's no ground rent. We are going to put in the insurance at 15 quid and keep it at that for now. And again, this is to give a like-for-like situation. All right? So that's what we're going to be going through. So, are you ready? Let's go. So let's analyze the first property and see how we get on with this. So we've got Hillthorpe Road in Pudsey. The first thing I'm going to be doing is I've put it into, on Lendlord, up the top, and you've got this postcode info. So I'm putting that in here, and you can see for the LS28 property in Pudsey, we've got 7 sales going on a monthly basis, and we've got average yield of 4.4%, not amazing, and we've got 5.2%, the average 5-year growth. Very strong. What we can see here from the capital growth is there hasn't been a single year where it's gone down, which is kind of surprising for the 2024 stats. I would expect there to be some negative in that, which is not a bad thing, by the way, because we're looking for those averages. And if we can average at that 5%, we're doing incredibly well. So this is an average of 5.2%. So the first thing I'm going to be doing over here is putting in 5.2%. We've got the purchase price at 170,000. We're not going to worry about the property value right now. And we said the rent is going to be 850, and we're factoring in £5,000 for refurbishment costs. Now, we're always going to click additional property on the calculator. That's because it's an investment property, and an investment property always accounts for an additional property. Closing costs is what's getting the deal done. I always put in about 1,500. If you want to feel really safe, put £2,000, but it's more like your legal fees. Let's put £2,000 just so we feel extra comfortable. So again, loan to value, we're going to go for 75%. So we know that the total cash investment, see how quick that is, by the way, is going in 54,838. And we're going to put mortgage fees in there at 1%. And we're going to add the fees to the loan. So it brings down our cash in the deal as well. Or it should do. There you go. And on this side, we've got everything. We've got annual inflation there, and we're going to base it on a 10-year formula. So the next thing we're going to do is look at the value of the property. The way we're going to do this is we're going to go on to buying property and just look at the end values of properties in the area. That's one way of doing it, by the way. You can put it in, put within half a mile. Let's put some bedrooms on there. So it's a 2-bed, this property. Go to 3-bed, and we're going to go for houses only. Now, we're going to go find properties. And if you want to, you can go on filters and add in include under offer and subject to, which doubles it. Which, by the way, if you just look at that number, including under offer and sold subject to contract, we've got 25. If you untick that, we've only got 26, which shows that 29 properties are sold and 26 are available, which is an over 50% success rate of getting the property sold, which is pretty bloody good. So again, if we go lowest price here, it just gives an indication. Lowest one's 110, not comparable. 140. Try and find a like for like. Here we go. Hillthorpe Terrace. Is this the one we're looking at, or is this a different one? Interesting. So this one is sold subject to contract on the same address at 170k. It's got a guide of 170 to 180, so it gives a good indication of it. So I put the property value, of course more research needs to go in, at 170, and pause the timer. How long was that?
3:32.
3 minutes and 32 seconds of the first property. Let's have a look at the numbers, and this is how quick it can actually be. So we've got a rough refurb cost, and if you wanted to go and break the breakdown, that's fine. This is very much a ready reckoner. This is a very quick way to work out if you actually want to do this deal. Now, what I'm looking at is the yield. So you've got a gross yield of 5.56%. Being honest with you, that's quite low. It's not incredible on there, all right? So if we looked at putting it down to 150,000, we're at 6.27%, and really that's the yield that I want to feel comfortable at. I want to be really between 6 and 7%. But it is a stronger area. We've got the cash on cash return of 4.68%, which is important. And the one that I'm really interested in is the 13.98%. This is called the internal rate of return, and it's an estimate of future annual rate of return. So it's kind of what I talk about, the combined returns that I talk about on this channel, which if you don't know what combined returns are, it's your rental income as a net and your capital growth, which is why that capital growth figure is so important. If you want to find out more about that, make sure you're hitting the subscribe and the notification bell. So we've got those figures in already. We've got the softer analytics here where we know it's good. We know the crime rate in this area is, on this one here, is low crime. Now, crime doesn't actually bother me too much, if I'm honest. Even like the good areas have crime going on. If you search your postcode, it has crime going on, I promise you. But it gives you a really good idea. Now, the things to look at is commute methods is always a good indicator of wealth in the area. If it's over 45% car drivers, it's a wealthy area, more middle class. Looking at the schools, you always want a school in the area that is good or outstanding. And you've got 3 that are good here and 1 that requires improvement. And it's largely a 49% conservative area. This is a very strong, wealthy area, and this is what you would expect. So that's property number 1. Property number 2, 3, 2, 1, start the timer. So property number 2 is this one in Longroyd Avenue. Again, obviously much cheaper. Now, they say offers over 100. I wouldn't expect this to land at 100. I think they're pricing that to encourage something. So we'll go back to that in a while. I'm then going to scroll down. Again, we've looked through the pictures. We've looked at this. It's a very simple layout. Now, with this one, with one of the bedrooms being on the 2nd floor, I just want to make sure that's legally compliant. So I'd be asking if they've got building regs in place before I go into legals in this property. A little tip for you there. So once we've got that, just going to scroll down again, and I just want to see the recently sold properties in this area. So we've got 92 Longroyd, which sold in October 2022 for 105,000. Very good indication. You can see it's been cleaned up out front, and yeah, it's a bit of a... It's not exactly done amazing on the inside, is it? It looks like somebody's refurbed bits and then left the rest, so it kind of just looks shit at the end of it, being blunt about it. Sorry if this is your property, by the way. So we go through that. It looks okay. It looks for like for like on there. We've also got others though for 78 grand. Now the fact that that is an anomaly in the pricing there, as you can see, it probably tells me that that was a direct to vendor below market value purchase, especially as there's no other properties on there whatsoever. And again, you can see there's no floor plan and there's no company attached to it at all. So that tells me it was a direct to vendor. Somebody got an absolute steal. So again, remember this is a ready reckoner. We're doing quick pricing on this. So we've also got the pricing history. I think it could go for more like 105, but we'll see. The rentals on this one are a little bit different, okay? So with this one, again, it is a strong area when we end up looking at it. If we just go over to here. And again, you've got 825, 795. It's getting toppy. I think these are very strong rents. I think, honestly, especially knowing these agents, they're putting on higher and seeing what comes out. I genuinely believe 750, 775 might be a bit better. So I'd rather be on the conservative side on this one and put in 775. As I said, I always factor in 5 grand initially, but I'm going to add on another 5. Leaving us at 10,000 to make sure we're comfortable with the added refurbishment. I'm going to put the end value at 100 just to keep it simple for now, to make sure we're getting accurate figures. Again, we want to make sure that down here we're changing the loan to value to 75%. Make sure we've got the mortgage fees as 1% again, and we're going to add in the fees. Now, 5% interest only is pretty reasonable. We've got 0 over here, putting the insurance in at 15, making sure the annual appreciation matches. So we're going to go on the postcode finder again for this property. First thing, by the way, look at the crime rate. Oh my God, very high crime. We're all going to get shot and stabbed up, right? Not quite, okay? If you look at it, violence and sexual offences, almost always the top one. The ones I'm really looking at is criminal damage and arson. It's at 163, nothing too bad. Which, again, if you've not looked at crime rate, that'd be like, oh my God, but not a big deal. It's labour, 62%, which typically means a poorer area. Don't judge me, those are just the stats. The schools, again, good indication. Look how many good, inadequate, good, requires improvement, outstanding. Loads of schools in the area. Car drivers still the majority at 32%, but immediately we know the capital growth probably won't be as strong over the long term. We've got the capital growth here, 2024 showing a drop, which is more predicted, obviously, with interest rates going up. Yet again, though, we have got an average capital growth of 5.3%. So let's put it in, 5.3. We've got all our numbers on that side. We've got our stamp duty. We're 75% loan to value. Pause the timer. 4 minutes 13, second property. So let's look at the numbers. Got a net annual cash flow of 3,937, not too shabby. Cash on cash return of 9.4249%. Gross yield of 80.03. And an IRR, internal rate of return, which remember is your combined return of 15.81%. Now, remember, this is a ready reckoner. So let's say we tweaked some of the numbers and we said, look, we're actually going to come in at 110,000, which I think it might end up coming in, dependent on the area. I'd need to look at it. And we only achieved £750. Make sure we've got this in. So we're going to put 75% on there. And again, let's just double check the numbers there, because I think it's good to go through these and just be a little bit more conservative with where we're going to end out. So again, we're looking good on this. We've got 7.14% gross yield, which is great. 8.75% cash on cash, which is phenomenal. And we've got a 15.77% internal rate of return. So the thing is, we can look at a lot of other metrics, but both of these should be triggers to investigate further. So I might then go into more in-depth analysis, but this is how quick you should be doing your ready reckoners, understanding the numbers within 5 minutes to then explore further. But ultimately, both of these would be great investments. And if I had the money for both, I'd actually look into buying both. But if I had to make an opinion on this, based purely on this, I'd investigate both, as I said. Personally, I would be buying the shithole looking one in Beeston over the beauty in Pudsey. And the reason I think this is so important is you have to make objective decisions as an investor. And I bet a majority of you, be honest and let me know in the comments, I reckon a majority of you on first glance would be more drawn to the Pudsey property that is absolutely gorgeous rather than the Beeston property that looks a little bit rough around the edges and has got crime in the area. Now, it will be interesting. I think the Pudsey property will do better over the next 2 to 3 years. I think the LS11 property will do better over the next 10 years. And I think the IRR, the internal rate of return, will be so much higher on the property you probably wouldn't have invested in. I hope this has been valuable, guys. As I said, if you haven't already, go and rewatch this video, download and click on the link below for Lendlord and pick your own property at random and see if you can go through the Ready Reckoner in under 5 minutes. Genuinely, I want to test you guys on here. You've been subscribed for a while, I hope. Time yourself and let everyone know how quickly you analyze your first property following this same method. So you can cheat a little bit, get all of the tabs opened up so you're ready, put the timer on, and then let me know the time. Don't cheat. I'm genuinely interested how many of you can do this using Lendlord. If you're not subscribed already and you want to learn more about property investment, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you did get value, it takes 2 seconds, but really does help the channel grow. Hit that like button and I'll see you in the next video.